For supporters of Rangers, few fixtures stir emotions quite like the clash with Celtic. The intensity, the history, and the pride surrounding this rivalry always create an atmosphere unlike any other in football. Yet the latest meeting between these two sides has left a conversation that goes far beyond what happened on the pitch. Instead of discussing tactics, goals, or performances, the focus has shifted to the troubling scenes that followed the final whistle and the reactions that have since come from both clubs. What should have been remembered purely as another chapter in one of football's most historic rivalries has now become a serious discussion about responsibility, respect, and the behavior that surrounds the game we all love. Following the events that unfolded after the match, Rangers released a statement addressing the disorder that took place. The club made it clear from the outset that what happened was completely unacceptable. Safety, they emphasized, must always remain the priority in football, not only for supporters but also for players, staff, and everyone who works around the sport. It was a direct and firm response that left little room for interpretation. The club acknowledged the seriousness of the situation and stressed that football stadiums should always be places where passion and rivalry exist within clear boundaries of respect and responsibility. When those boundaries are crossed, the consequences can damage the sport and the communities that surround it. One of the most disturbing elements that emerged in the aftermath of the match involved graffiti discovered within the stadium referencing the Ibrox disaster. For Rangers, this tragedy is not just a historical event, but a deeply personal chapter in the club's identity. The memory of the 66 supporters who lost their lives in January 1971 remains a solemn reminder of the importance of safety in football grounds. That moment in history is remembered with dignity and respect by generations of supporters, and any attempt to mock or disrespect that memory is seen as something far beyond football rivalry. For the club and its supporters, it represents an attack on the memory of people who simply went to watch a match and never returned home. Rangers were clear in their response to this discovery. The statement described the actions as shameful and deeply offensive, stressing that mocking such a tragedy is not banter and cannot be dismissed as part of rivalry between clubs. It is something far more serious. The club's message focused on the idea that football should never allow its competitive spirit to cross into the territory of disrespecting loss of life. Rivalries are meant to fuel passion and excitement, but when they cross certain lines, they undermine the very spirit that makes football meaningful to so many people across Scotland and beyond. At the same time, the club also addressed the behavior of those individuals who became involved in disorder following the match. Supporters entering the pitch, throwing objects, or engaging in violent behavior were strongly condemned. The message from the club was unmistakable. Such actions do not represent the values of Rangers or the vast majority of supporters who attend matches simply to support their team. Football clubs depend on the passion of their fan bases, but that passion must always remain controlled and respectful. When individuals cross that line, they not only risk serious consequences for themselves, but also place their club in danger of disciplinary action. The point raised in the statement about the broader reputation of Rangers supporters was also significant. Tens of thousands of fans attended the match to back their team with pride, creating the atmosphere that makes these games so iconic. The club emphasized that it would be unfair for the actions of a small group to define the behavior of the entire support. In a fixture of this magnitude, emotions run high, but the overwhelming majority of fans were there for football, not confrontation. That distinction matters greatly when discussions about accountability begin to take shape in the days following such incidents. In situations like this, narratives can quickly form in the media and across supporter groups. Rangers made it clear that the full context of what happened must be considered before conclusions are drawn. While certain actions must be condemned without hesitation, it is equally important to avoid painting an entire community of supporters with the same brush. Football clubs are built on generations of loyal fans, and protecting that identity means ensuring that responsibility is placed where it truly belongs. For many observers, the tone of the Rangers' statement stood out because it combined condemnation with reflection. The club acknowledged wrongdoing, defended the dignity of its history, and called for fairness when discussing the behavior of its supporters. In moments like this, leadership from clubs becomes crucial. Supporters look to their institutions not only for footballing success, but also for guidance on how the values of the club should be represented both inside and outside the stadium. The debate intensified further when attention turned to the response that followed from the other side of the rivalry. As reactions began to circulate, many fans started comparing the language and focus of the two statements. Where Rangers emphasized condemnation and remembrance, the remarks coming from Celtic's leadership appeared to approach the situation from a different perspective. This contrast quickly became a major talking point among supporters and commentators alike, as people examined the words used and the priorities that seemed to shape each club's response to the events surrounding the match. When attention turned to the response coming from Celtic's leadership, many supporters immediately noticed a different tone. Instead of beginning with a direct condemnation of the incidents that had overshadowed the match, the focus initially centered on the result itself and the performance of the team. The victory was highlighted, the determination of the players was praised, and the spirit shown during the match was described in glowing terms. While it is natural for any club to celebrate a strong result in such a historic rivalry, the timing of those remarks led to debate among fans who felt the discussion should first have addressed the behavior that had taken place around the stadium. The statement acknowledged that the events following the match had, to some degree, taken attention away from the football itself. Yet for many observers, the issue was not simply that the celebrations had been overshadowed. The real concern was the nature of the incidents that occurred and the impact they had on supporters, stadium staff, and the broader image of Scottish football. When situations like this arise, people often expect clear and immediate language that reinforces what is acceptable and what is not within the sport. That expectation is particularly strong during matches that already carry enormous historical and emotional weight. In his remarks, Celtic's interim chairman explained that the club respects the role of safety authorities and advisory groups who review these matters. He stressed that when clear evidence of unacceptable behavior is presented, the club would take action against individuals or groups involved. On the surface, this sounded like a measured approach focused on facts rather than emotion. However, critics of the statement argued that certain elements did not require lengthy investigation or detailed evidence to condemn. Acts such as vandalism, offensive graffiti, or behavior that threatens safety are widely understood as unacceptable regardless of the circumstances surrounding them. Another point that drew attention was the suggestion that simple condemnatory statements do not always resolve long-standing issues within football culture. According to this perspective, repeating words of condemnation alone would not fix problems that have existed for decades in intense rivalries. Instead, the argument emphasized the importance of practical action and cooperation with governing bodies. While this viewpoint attempts to focus on long-term solutions, many supporters questioned whether acknowledging wrongdoing clearly and directly should still be the starting point when serious incidents occur. The discussion became even more heated when the topic of pitch invasions was mentioned. In football grounds across the United Kingdom, entering the pitch without permission is considered a serious breach of regulations and, in many cases, the law itself. Stadium security, policing strategies, and league rules are all designed to prevent such moments because they can quickly escalate into dangerous situations. For that reason, many fans expected stronger language addressing the issue, particularly in a match where tensions between supporters were already high. Supporters on both sides of the rivalry began debating the differences between the two responses. Some argued that Rangers had taken a firmer position by clearly condemning actions that crossed the line. Others felt that Celtic's leadership was attempting to avoid inflaming tensions further by focusing on evidence and formal investigation. In a rivalry that has stretched across generations, every word spoken by club officials carries weight. Statements are analyzed, interpreted, and debated endlessly by fans who see them as reflections of their club's values. The broader concern, however, extends beyond one match or even one rivalry. Scottish football has spent years working to improve safety, inclusivity, and respect within stadiums. The memories of past tragedies, including those that shaped the modern approach to stadium safety, remain powerful reminders of why these issues matter. When incidents occur that appear to disrespect that history, emotions naturally run high. Clubs therefore face a delicate balance between defending their supporters and ensuring that unacceptable behavior is addressed with clarity. What makes this situation particularly complex is the scale of the old firm rivalry itself. Matches between Rangers and Celtic are watched not only across Scotland but around the world. Every confrontation between the two clubs carries historical meaning, cultural context, and enormous emotional investment from supporters. When controversy surrounds these fixtures, the impact stretches far beyond the 90 minutes of football. It influences public perception, media coverage, and the reputation of the Scottish game internationally. Amid all of this debate, one reality remains clear. The overwhelming majority of supporters from both clubs attend these matches for the love of football. They come to back their teams, sing for their colors, and experience the intensity that makes this rivalry unique. When the actions of a small number of individuals dominate the headlines, it can overshadow the passion and loyalty shown by tens of thousands who behave responsibly. That is why discussions about accountability are so important, because they aim to protect the atmosphere that makes these matches special while ensuring that unacceptable behavior does not define them. As investigations and conversations continue, supporters across Scotland are left reflecting on what the future of this rivalry should look like. The old firm will always carry fierce competition and emotional intensity, but the responsibility now lies with clubs, authorities, and fans themselves to ensure that those emotions remain within the boundaries of respect. The statements released after the match have already sparked debate about leadership, responsibility, and the values football should represent, and that discussion is unlikely to fade anytime soon as the fallout from this match continues to unfold. What remains certain is that the old firm rivalry will never lose its intensity. Matches between these sides have always carried huge emotion, and that is part of what makes them some of the most watched and talked about fixtures in the football calendar. But with that spotlight also comes the expectation that the game should reflect the best of what football can offer rather than the worst. Supporters across Scotland will now be watching closely to see how the situation develops, how the investigation unfolds, and how both clubs respond as the story surrounding this match continues to evolve. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Shockwaves have rippled through Ibrox after the sudden departure of manager Danny RÖHL, a move that has left supporters stunned and sparked intense speculation across Scottish football. Sources close to the club suggest the decision came swiftly and with little warning, fueling rumors that a dramatic change behind the scenes had been building for some time. RÖHL, who had only recently been entrusted with guiding Rangers through a critical period, is understood to have stepped away from his role amid what insiders describe as a rapidly evolving situation within the club's hierarchy. While no official explanation has been offered yet, whispers around Glasgow indicate that disagreements over the club's long-term direction may have played a part in the abrupt split. In the hours following the announcement, attention quickly shifted from the shock exit to an even more surprising development. Rangers are believed to be moving swiftly to appoint a new figure to the dugout. Though the club has remained tight-lipped, multiple reports circulating among Scottish football circles claim that negotiations with a potential successor are already well advanced. What has raised eyebrows further is the identity of the man rumored to be stepping in. According to growing chatter around the club, Rangers may be preparing to unveil a manager whose name few expected to be linked with the position at this stage of the season. The prospect of such a bold appointment has ignited debate among supporters, many of whom are trying to make sense of the speed and secrecy surrounding the situation. Inside Ibrox, the atmosphere is said to be tense but focused, with players and staff awaiting clarity as the club prepares for the next chapter. Those close to the dressing room insist the squad remains determined to maintain momentum on the pitch despite the uncertainty off it. For now, Rangers fans are left with more questions than answers. The sudden exit of Danny RÖHL has opened the door to a new era far sooner than anyone anticipated. And if the rumors prove accurate, the club's next move could be one of the most surprising managerial twists Scottish football has seen in quite some time. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.